Hello, and welcome to Conquering Finale. My name is Jason Lafredo, and we are at it again with the Repeats Redux section. We're looking at endings again, and specifically, we're going to look at that problem that I mentioned in an earlier video about long first endings. So if I set up let's say a 3-bar ending here, create first and second ending, you'll see exactly the problem is that there's a big gap in the middle bar here. These lines do not connect, which is actually totally incorrect. Musically speaking, these lines really should connect. I mean, there are instances maybe where I would want a gap here. Maybe if this ending is really long, like 8 or 9 or 10 bars or something, maybe it would be worth just doing it at the beginning and then sort of not having that line interfere with all the music in between. Maybe that would be okay. But, for 3, 4-bar endings like this line really should connect. And it's a flaw in the repeat tool in Finale that really, 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 really should be fixed at some point. But I'm going to show you a couple workarounds. One of them's easy to do, but not exactly great, and the other one is a little bit trickier, but a better solution overall. So the easy solution is to just take the repeat tool and grab one of these handles, hold down Shift, and just drag that sucker all the way to the right so that the line sort of lines up. And if you're doing something, if you're doing this on a simple chart like a piano vocal chart, this may be all you need to do. Particularly if the layout is already set, you can probably get away with just doing that and call it a day. There are several problems with this though, and the first, as you can see, is that it turns orange, which means that it's unlinked. And unfortunately, the initial problem with this, if you're doing this with a chart that has linked parts, is that it won't do it in the parts. So now you see all of my parts have that gap in measure 3, which is not great at all. Then you'd have to go and like individually do this on every single part, which would just be a huge pain in the neck. The other issue is that if you do this and then change the layout somehow, so if this bar ended up on the next page, this extension is really generated from this or started from this measure. So it just keeps going, right? It's not actually attached to this bar here. So it's going to go off the page and it's just not going to look right. So ultimately, this is not a great solution. So let me give you a little bit of a better one. The way I'm going to do this is actually I'm going to create a new ending in bar 3 here. And if this ending spanned 4 bars, I would actually have to do this for any bar that has this gap or every bar that has this gap. So if I had an extra bar here, I'd have to do it again. So let's go in here, and what I'm going to do is actually create an ending, okay? And what I'm going to do with this ending is a little bit unique. I don't want it to have an ending number, so I'm just going to delete that. However, even if you delete this, Finale is still going to put that period after the number that doesn't exist. So how do we get rid of that? The only way to do that is actually go into the alternate text and just type a space so that Finale thinks that there's something here, but it's blank. It's not going to show anything. All right, and the next thing we want to do is we don't want this to have any type of target, so we're just going to choose never skip ending, and that will just sort of tell Finale that nothing's really happening here. And then under the options, we definitely do not want to create a backwards repeat bar, so uncheck that. And of course, if you're showing on something different than top staff, just make sure that it matches whatever you're using for the endings here. So in this case, top staff only for me, and click OK. And we're getting there. Obviously, we've got the horizontal line, but we still have that hook at the beginning. So this is where we do have to make some manual adjustments, and we go back to the repeat tool. And with the Shift key held down, of course, just drag that sucker up a little bit. And sometimes you can use the arrows to nudge to get it exactly in line like that. And there you go. That's pretty much it. Almost. There's just a slight little problem with this. If I zoom in really far, you're going to notice something here. There's just a tiny bit of a gap in between, right, where the bar line is. So, this may be okay just as is. Maybe you won't notice it when you print it, but we can fix this. So let's go back to the document options. and go into the repeat endings. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change the inset for the start of the bracket. And I'm going to change this to a value of negative 0.007. Now, I've played around with these values. I've played around with changing the inset for the end of the bracket a little bit, for the start, going different ways. This is the best solution I've found. So inset for start of bracket, negative 0.007. And click OK. And you'll see that that little gap gets swallowed up on both sides because it's changing the start here, but also on the start on the next one is going a little bit to the left as well. And click OK. Now this looks pretty good. That you will, if you pay very close attention, you will see that it affects the start bracket over here as well, and it's just not quite in line with the bar line here. I mean, if it really bothers you, you can manually change that, but I think it's hardly noticeable. And certainly not when you're dealing with the double repeat bar line there as well. And so that's really the solution. That's kind of how you do that. And then the advantage of this, of course, is that it will appear correct on all of the parts. And it will appear correct if you change the layout. So if I were to move bar 4 down a system, you'll see that the bracket will get drawn to the end of the system, stop, and then start at the beginning of the next system and end, which is exactly the way it should be drawn, right? So this is sort of the best solution that I could come up with for this. I don't know if it's the perfect solution. It certainly sucks that we actually have to do this type of thing to fix this problem, because this really should be something that should be handled automatically with a repeat tool, but it is not, and thus we are stuck with this. So anyway, I hope this helps. That's my solution to solving this problem. And I think that's it for first and second endings in the repeat tool. I think we're going to start talking about text endings next, so come back for those videos. All right, thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I will see you soon on the next video.